my amazing team that leads our workforce development work at EDA. This is our second webinar in our technical assistance series for our EDA AI Upskill Accelerator pilot program. A few words from the top is one, thank you for your interest in the program. I think we're getting some very a lot of questions, a lot of people that are curious about this opportunity and see its benefits. Second, this is really intended to start sort of the 202 level for technical assistance. So on our website, you will find a webinar that walks through sort of the basics of the addendum of the NOFO addendum for this competition. We are assuming that people that are in this webinar have reviewed that baseline information and have decided that this is a funding opportunity that is of interest to them and that they are looking for a little bit more support in thinking about their strategy. Because that's the overall objective of this webinar. So maybe we go to the next slide, Carla. This webinar is to help you think about how to shape your project to align with the NOFO addendum requirements. So this is more of a strategic webinar. So we are going to look at the NOFO, but give you a set of tools and questions to think about. All right, with your teams, how should you be thinking about your sectoral partnership? How should you be assessing what phase of the competition of our phase process that you should start in? Thinking about building your projects, thinking about all of these different pieces that go into telling a compelling story for your application and your overarching narrative. The last thing that I will say is I know that it is not easy to apply for a federal grant. There's a lot of work. There's a lot of federal requirements. There's a lot of documentation. And we are going to do our best to help support you in doing some of the technical compliance work, which is very, 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 very important. But also what I will say is that what is also important is having a good idea concept that is resonant to sort of the conditions in your respective region and having a good case to make for your project. So what is the storytelling? I think sometimes we get a lot of projects that, their forms are, generally right, but overall the who, what, where, when, and why of the project is what is lacking. And so this is the opportunity for us to think about the who, what, where, when, why of your project. So I'm going to turn the webinar over. Enough talking for me. I'm going to turn the webinar over to our workforce lead, Carla Garrett. She is going to walk through today's presentation. We're going to give just a little bit of information about our program background. We're going to talk about the program narrative. We're going to talk about some timeline and next steps. And then if you have questions, I have plenty of staff that are monitoring the chat. I'm going to monitor the chat, and we'll work through answering questions in the chat to the greatest extent possible. But then we might have a couple places where you can come off mute and ask questions too. All right, Carla, that's it. It's all yours.
All right, thank you. Good afternoon now, everyone. As Justin said, I'm Carla Garrett and serve as the workforce lead here at EDA in our Office of Innovation and Entrepreneurship. Also joined by my colleague, Rachel Buchan, who will give some information during this webinar as well. So just for awareness, this webinar is being recorded. The recording as well as the slides shared today will be available on our website shortly after we conclude today's session and will remain posted throughout the open competition on our website. All right, so let us dig in. So I'll provide a quick overview and setup before we get into the details of the program, just to establish why the AI Accelerator, the AI Upskill Accelerator program exists, what problem it's designed to solve, how your proposed projects fit into the broader national effort to prepare American workers for AI adoption. So program background, EDA launched this pilot to support new approaches to workforce challenges created by artificial intelligence. So 3 themes that guide this program: prioritizing AI skill development as a core focus of workforce funding streams, pilot innovative models, including rapid retraining and strategies for shifting skill requirements, and surface scalable, performance-driven solutions that can help the workforce system adapt as AI continues to reshape tasks and roles. This program is authorized under the Public Works Economic Adjustment Assistance Program, or PWEA for short, which enables EDA to fund innovative workforce training programs through sectoral partnerships. That legal authority is what allows the support, allows us to support design, expand, and implement AI workforce training that is presented in the AI addendum. The Upskill program is an addendum to that authorized funding to PWEA. So this means many of the foundational requirements, expectations, and provisions from the PWEA program still apply. There are just some things that are specific to the AI addendum. It's noted throughout this training, but it's also noted throughout the notice of funding opportunity. So applicants are strongly encouraged to review the notice of funding opportunity for all of the required elements of this AI addendum funding opportunity. So the AI Upskill Accelerator supports employer-led regional workforce systems that equip workers with practical, job-ready AI skills, not theoretical concepts, but skills aligned to the actual tools and workflows employers are using. Sectoral partnerships are the foundation of this program, and you'll hear this theme throughout today's webinar. Strong employer engagement drives relevance, placement, and long-term sustainability. Program goals include preparing workers with job-ready AI skills, strengthening employer-aligned training models, and identifying scalable approaches that other regions can learn from. Reviewing some of the funding details, EDA anticipates to award between 4 to 8 grants, ranging from $1 to $8 million. EDA does not anticipate making any one award in excess of $8 million. The maximum investment rate is 60%, meaning applicants must contribute a 40% match. And we will have another webinar next week, and that information is posted on our website with the link where we'll go a little bit more into what match rate means. Awards are expected to run for 24 to 36 months, and training must begin within 1 year of the award start date. We also note that funded entities must comply with reporting requirements, including financial reports, progress reports throughout the period of performance. We'll also have another webinar. That information is posted on our website, where we'll dig a bit deeper into data evaluation and reporting on awarded projects. EDA is able to make awards to eligible entities as indicated here on the screen. Only the lead entity of a sectoral partnership can apply, and the lead entity must be an eligible entity that EDA is authorized to make awards to. So please review the funding opportunity for additional information regarding eligible entities. If after you review you still have questions, please feel free to reach out to us. Our contact information will be shown at the end of this webinar, but it is also listed throughout the notice of funding opportunity. Allowable uses of funds. The AI Upskill Accelerator program has 3 sequential phases. Phase 1, system development. This phase supports convening partners, understanding AI needs, and establishing governance and roles. Phase 2, program design. This is where curriculum, competency models, training pathways, and necessary infrastructure is developed. And phase 3, program implementation, which is required for all applicants. This phase supports direct delivery of employer-aligned AI training, recruitment of participants, providing participant supports, and collecting data as a result of the training programs. Remember, you may start in any phase as long as you can demonstrate that the earlier phases have been completed. So you'll notice 2 phases are optional, but program implementation is required for all applications. Now we'll begin the heart of the concept development portion. Your sectoral partnership is the backbone of your entire project. Everything you propose, from the training, the supports, the outcomes, must be grounded in employer-driven partnership structure. So in this section, we'll begin guiding you through how you can think about developing, describing, and strengthening your sectoral partnerships as part of your project narrative. So your proposal centers around a sectoral partnership between an eligible lead entity and employers who will help design and deliver AI aligned training. At a high level, your proposal must describe the sectoral partnership, describe the need for the AI training in the industry of focus in your region, describe the proposed activities, how much funding you're requesting, and how you know the activities you're proposing will work to address the need that you've described, and then describe the benefits for the workforce participants and employers in the project. So these are the components that will make up a strong concept and application or proposal, and we'll talk through each of these throughout today's webinar. Starting off with describing your sectoral partnership. A strong partnership ensures your project is grounded in real employer demand, not assumptions, not hypothetical needs, but the skills employers actually need today. So your partnership should bring employers, training providers, workforce organizations, community organizations together around a shared strategy. This collaboration increases the likelihood that workers who complete training will enter high quality roles or advance in their current roles, and employers will meaningfully integrate AI-enabled tools into their operations. Finally, the partnership model supports long-term sustainability. When the key players work together, regions are better positioned to create durable AI pathways, workforce pathways, and replicate what works. So your sectoral partnership is meant to be more than an advisory group. And you'll see why on the next slide of what sectoral partnerships are designed to do. So the functions are pretty robust here. It's not just bringing together to advise, but to strategize and execute. So think of your sectoral partnership as the engine of your project. That is how we are looking at the sectoral partnerships that you describe. It's not a passive advisory group, but it's a body that steers the work you're proposing, makes decisions, and ensures every activity aligns with what employers actually need. These functions demonstrate to EDA that the partnership isn't symbolic, it's operational, it's strategic, and central to your project's success. So checkpoint 1. Helps you assess whether you have the right partnership structure in place. So you should be able to clearly articulate who your partners are, what type of organization each partner represents, the role they will play in your project, and the value add that they are bringing to the project. You should consider, as you're putting this together, what's missing, what partner's missing, what role is missing. For example, if you're proposing training, but you've not yet identified a training provider, that is a gap that should be addressed, and you should be identifying a partner to fill that. Similarly, you should describe how the partnership governs itself. How are decisions going to be made? How are you coordinating? How will you or presently maintaining alignment across your partners and with industry? So all of that should be detailed and clearly articulated within your proposal. As indicated throughout the AI addendum, projects can start in phases, phase 1, phase 2, or 3, but applicants must demonstrate completion of phases if they are not included. So system development is where you establish governance, map AI use cases, articulate employer roles, partner roles, conduct skills, needs assessments, and formalize commitments. If those items are not yet done, you are likely need to include phase one, system development, in your application. Program design is where you develop curriculum, identify training providers, create competency frameworks, define recruitment strategies, and establish data systems. If these pieces are not in place, you will need to propose a project for phase two. So you can look and see, well, we've got everything in system development done, not quite in program design. That is likely a good place for your proposal to start. And phase three implementation is where training is executed. This is where everything your sector partnership has come together to define and put in place is actually executed. And this is the required phase for any application. It includes participant recruitment, delivery of the AI line training, providing supports that have been identified and needed to help participants successfully enter and complete the training programs, and the collection of data for evaluation. Applicants can refer to this table to assist with identifying where they currently are and what phases need to be built into a successful project. Again, strongly encourage applicants to review the Notice of Funding Opportunity AI addendum in its entirety to understand what in totality is being asked to be presented in the proposal. Checkpoint two, identifying your phases. So we're giving you another diagram here to help you determine where you should be identifying or aligning your proposal. So here you can ask some key questions to help determine that. Is your sectoral partnership established with employer partners? Do you have employer commitments? Does your partnership know AI use cases across industries and worker skills needed? Also, you could add here, do you have the proper training supports? Do you have the proper community support partners? If the answer is no, you likely should start in system development. If yes, you can consider starting in program design. To assess if you should start in program design or just go straight to implementation, there are a series of questions asked here. Again, it's based around what we reviewed those activities are that align to program design phase. You go through these, use these as a guide, and if you're answering no to most of them or all of them, it's likely that your project should start in program design. If you're answering yes, you're ready to go and start executing what your partnership has identified, and you likely should start in implementation. Now we'll transition into the special need and the case for AI workforce training in your region and industry that has been selected. Your proposal will focus on. This is one of the most critical sections of the entire narrative. If you do not clearly demonstrate special need, your application likely will not move forward in review. So we'll spend the next few slides breaking down what special need means and how to articulate that in a thoughtful way throughout your proposal. So going back to the core concept and the ask, your narrative must clearly describe why AI training is needed, for whom it is needed, and how those needs connect to employer demand and industry competitiveness. This is not about describing how AI is transforming the world in general. It is about describing how AI is transforming the focus industry in your region and what workers need in order to keep pace. So strong applications will make the need incredibly clear and specific. So do not assume that we know what's happening in your region. That is for you to clearly articulate to us. So there are the four required components of special need. Again, this is listed in its entirety in the AI addendum, and you should consult that, as well as using this as some additional training tools. If any one of the items with special need is missing or vague, there may not be enough information included for the application to be considered. So again, we want to make sure that you all are addressing the elements or components of special need clearly and in its entirety. So throughout your narrative, you'll answer these questions tied to each element. It should be specific, evidence-based, and anchored in your region's context. This is where you tell the story of why your project is necessary and why it matters. And as a reminder, you should focus on one industry in your area, not multiple, but we're looking for you to hone in on one industry and uh, streamline your proposal around that industry. So here we're providing a deeper breakdown of each special need component, what applicants can answer, and what strong proposals typically include as evidence. So applicants can use this table like a checklist. As you're writing the narrative, you can pause and ask yourself, have I clearly answered these questions? Have I supported each point with data or employer input? Would a reviewer unfamiliar with my region understand the urgency and relevance of this need? The right data, the right examples, and the right framing here will significantly aid in the reviewer's understanding what you're articulating in your proposal and in your region. And special need drives eligibility as well as scoring. So you'll want to take a look at some of these key questions here and, ask yourself, what is the industry role in the region? Are we using data to support that and including that in our application? Are we making it clear for the reviewers to understand this is what we're focused on, this is who we're focused on, here's why, and here's that evidence to support? Defining your project's activities. Now that we've covered the sectoral partnership and the need for AI training, we'll move into the next core element, which is describing your project activities, the funding that you are requesting, and why the activities and the approach that you've outlined will work in addressing the AI need that you've described in your previous sections. So here we're introducing three core ideas that should be tightly connected throughout your project. First, your activity should directly address the AI workforce need identified earlier. There, we should see a clear line from the challenge described to the solution being proposed. Second, the funding request must align with those activities. There should be consistency. If you say you're going to do something or an activity, there should be a budget line for that within your budget narrative. Third, the application should show strong indicators that these activities will work, that employers have validated the approach, that the methods are grounded in evidence, and that barriers will be addressed. So starting with the first core idea around the project's activities, this helps you think more concretely about why the activities need to be the right activities. Applicants should be able to explain how the proposed activities specifically respond to the AI workforce needs you're identifying, how the training you propose teaches the exact skills employers are saying that they need, how the activities remove or address identified barriers, whether those are skills gap, training access barriers, or worker supports, and how employers shaped and endorsed the activities you've outlined. This is where you demonstrate the rigor behind your plan. Your activities should not be generic workforce development. They should be directly tied to employer validated AI skill requirements. The second idea focus on alignment between your activities and your budget. So we'll look closely at the budget proposed and the activities that are being described. So if you propose, again, training, but there's no budget line item for training, that is a disconnect between the activities you said you've proposed to do and the funding that you're requesting. If you identify uniforms or tools as a need for this training and individuals participating in this training, but there's no budget line item for participant supports, again, there is a disconnect there. Budget should also be reasonable. So we're looking at cost per participant and overall project scale as major indicators of feasibility. So earlier at the beginning, we mentioned that we're making awards in the amount of $1 to $8 million, 60% federal investment, 40% match. And so we're looking at the budget in its entirety, including the federal amount and what is being proposed as match to support and align to the activities that are being proposed. So you want to make sure that it's all matching and it's all cohesive. And the third concept emphasize so this is showing that what you propose, it will work, and here's why. So employers have validated these activities. Employers are committed to hiring or upskilling, assisting with upskilling those trained individuals through these activities. There's evidence models that have worked that you're looking to replicate through your proposal. So this part of your narrative gives us a strong sense that the partnership has chosen the right methods, and it's backed by evidence and employer demand. Checkpoint 4. So this is creating a timeline and identifying the activities you're proposing. So you're looking at to list out your activities that you will provide in your proposal. Identifying the organization or the partner that will lead that activity, who that lead organization is consulting with, and identifying the timeline associated with each activity. So you want to first outline the activities that are needed to address the workforce need that you've proposed. And you can ask yourself, did we list all of the activities? Are we including all of the activities that sufficiently addresses that workforce need? Have we identified the proper lead entity that is able to carry out that activity? And are they consulting with the right organizations to help shape that activity and the information needed? And then looking at the timeline, does it fit within the allowable period of performance and the requirements that have been laid out in the notice of funding activity? And are they realistic? Are they in the right order? And this can help give you a visual of the activities as they are happening, what can happen at the same time, what needs to wait, what comes first, what comes last. And it also gives you a good visual of where your partners are. And you can see if maybe we're leaning too heavily on one partner, or we need to bring in another partner to support that load, or this partner is better suited in a consultant role instead of a lead role. Now, I'll take a pause here and I will pass to my colleague, Rachel Buchan, to go over the workforce and employer benefits section.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Carla. And thank you, everybody, for joining today. The last element of your project narrative that we wanted to walk through on the next slide is describing those benefits. We'll talk more about data and evaluation activities on the June 23rd technical assistance webinar, but we do recognize that when developing your project narrative and your core concept, it really is important to think about what are those impacts on the other side of this work, and also to understand what EDA is expecting to see from these projects. So we wanted to go ahead and preview that on the next slide. At a high level, EDA does expect the project benefits of these efforts to fall into two buckets. One is going to be with workers, and the other is going to be with employers. So as you think through the impacts of these activities, we wanted to share some best practices, and that's that we're really looking for impacts to be ambitious, but also achievable. You're also going to want to describe these in a measurable snapshot so that through your project and through working with EDA, you can actually demonstrate progress and achievement of these impacts. And finally, we're really looking for evidence that these are achievable. That might be through research, through groundwork. It might be pointing toward examples in other places or industries that have done similar things. But what we want to see is that there is evidence that these projects can accomplish the benefits that they're proposing. So keep something in mind. The goals that you propose as a part of your narrative, if you are awarded this project, those will be incorporated into the scopes of work, and progress toward those goals will be reported by your coalition up to 5 years after the award start date. We want to be upfront about that so that as you do think about those benefits, you are thinking really practically about what these activities can accomplish and understand that there will be accountability measures with that proposal. Additionally, your reporting requirements may include participant information of the workers involved and also of the businesses involved. So that can be fairly extensive, and you should be prepared to participate in those evaluation activities that are part of being in an EDA pilot program. One thing I'll note here that we see with applicants often is they sometimes run into a common mistake where they write an application trying to get funding, but not necessarily to execute on the work. So just keep that in mind as you work with your partners, your sectoral partnership, to actually describe this narrative and these benefits, what will actually be done through the project, and make sure you communicate that to EDA. So on the next slide, we will jump into those worker level benefits. This is a high level, and in a moment, we'll actually break this down into an example table. But on the worker benefits, we expect these will likely fall into the number of individuals enrolled in training, the number that will complete that training, and then the number of participants that will either be placed in jobs or retained in employment. And we're looking for that by occupation type, including those average wages and benefits. So again, this is all worker-centered benefits that we anticipate on the other side of these activities. On the next slide, you'll see the example table that EDA already created this, and we strongly encourage applicants to utilize it to communicate in a streamlined way exactly what your sectoral partnership will accomplish through your program. Tables like this is what are incorporated into your scopes of work. So again, keep that in mind. Make sure that these really are feasible goals that you can accomplish with your sectoral partnership. These example tables also do include all the information that EDA is requiring. So I encourage you all to take advantage of those example tables in the notice of funding opportunity. On the next slide, we'll go into the employer benefits. So EDA recognizes that businesses of many sizes, many sectors are engaging with AI, integrating AI, and really leveraging it for many different impacts and benefits. And what we're looking for is for applications submitted to help us better understand what those employer benefits look like and what the workforce needs are as AI continues to uplift industries. And so what we need you to do with your employers is explore what are those benefits and those impacts due to incorporating AI into processes and upskilling workers to utilize those technologies. So those kind of benefits we anticipate falling into categories such as efficiency or productivity. Again, we recognize that benefits are going to look different in different places and different industries, and we want you to be creative and engaging with your employers through the application process to demonstrate what the benefits will be. So on the next slide, it goes into the notice of funding opportunity. Again, we created a table that lays out all the information EDA will need on those employer level benefits. So at a high level, what is the benefit? Provide a description of what that looks like in the industry, provide a measurable metric that will anticipate the benefit, as well as the direction of change, how often that information can be collected, and then how you're going to collect it. So take a close look at that, and also preview it with your employers, because we recognize that this is a part of being a pilot program is a lot of work on the evaluation side, and it's important to be doing some of this groundwork at the front end of the project with your employer partners. And lastly, to say a bit more about that, this is a pilot program. So it is intentionally designed to attract innovative applications and models, because EDA wants to learn from what is happening and what will happen in the future, because we intend to scale and adapt programs like this for future use as AI continues to expand in different industries and businesses. It will be a rigorous evaluation process during and after the grant. So just keep this in mind as you work with your partners to define those different benefits. Again, we don't want to dig too much into this in this particular presentation, because we will have a whole additional technical assistance webinar coming up on June 23rd. But we recognize that this is part of developing your narrative and your core concept, so we did want to preview that as soon as possible. So with that, encourage you all to start dropping your questions in the chat if you haven't already, and I will pass it back over to my colleague, Carla Garrett.
Thank you, Rachel. So to conclude the concept, developing your concept information, this slide brings together all of the core components that we've discussed today in one complete pathway, if you will. And so think of this as the proposal roadmap, all of the sections that are to be included, and some of those key components that should be identified and described throughout your proposal that addresses each of these core concepts. So in your sectoral partnership, it's critical to identify the industry and your partners. And it's critical to determine what phase your sectoral partnership is in. When you're describing the need for AI training in the focus industry and region, again, that is getting to the special need requirement that must be addressed in all applications. So taking a look at the AI addendum and all of the elements of the special need, ensuring that you are speaking clearly and efficiently to those elements, and that we're able to determine what the need is and assess your proposal to the special need criteria. And then describing the activities that will address the AI need that you've identified, ensuring there's consistency amongst the activities and the funding items that are identified in your budget narrative, and that the funding amount requested is reasonable to what is the activities being proposed. And then some evidence to support that the activities that you are recommending in your proposal will work. And then describing the benefits for workers and the participating employers, identifying what benefits will be tracked on the employer side, how you plan to gather that information. And to Rachel's point, we will have another webinar that will dive a bit deeper into data and evaluation and how EDA plans to support data that is being collected and evaluation of awarded applications. Wanting to highlight here competition resources. So today's webinar again is being recorded. It will be posted on our website along with the slide presentation, and it will be available throughout the open competition period. The AI addendum is also linked on our website. Taking a look at that lists out all of the required elements of a funding proposal. The FAQs, frequently asked questions, are also posted online and will continue to be updated as we get questions sent to us via email. Also, the questions that we are getting here on webinars that are not included on the FAQs. And then reaching out to us via email. OIE at EDA.gov will be able to take your question, consult internally, and give you the best guidance so that you have the most information, the most up-to-date information as you are going through your proposal and putting together a strong application. So our technical assistance webinars, what we have conducted, we did there is one posted, the AI addendum overview. It was just general technical assistance. It was NOFO 101. It's posted on our website. That recording and slides are available today, June 4th, developing your concept. Coming up next week, we have two, budget best practices and submitting your applications. These also will be hosted at 12 p.m. Eastern live, and those links are posted on our website. And then the last technical assistance webinar we will have will be on data impact and evaluation, hosted on June 23rd at 12 p.m. Eastern. And then this slide will be available online. All the hyperlinks will work, and so you'll be able to click that to go to our webinar. Our website to access the webinars. So I'll pause here. We have a few minutes, and so I will ask the team to assist with any questions that have come in the chat, but also feel free to unmute and ask a question if it has not been addressed in the chat.
Okay, so I've been monitoring the chat, Carla, while you and Rachel have been doing things. So I think I'm caught up, but a few of these I would need a little bit more information on. So there's a question about like the details behind like an economic development organization and its for-profit, nonprofit status. Like the devil is in the details there. That's a question that is, I need a little bit more specifics on that and probably would need a lawyer, to which I'm not. So that's a good question to send to our inbox, Carla, our OIE at EDA.gov inbox. I know the webinars type timeline, we're doing a whole lot. This is more technical assistance than we've been doing in the past, but we are under timelines to get our awards out. I think it's important to start early. Our deadlines aren't going to change. This question around AI tokens, I think is one I'm going to have to take back. I'm not sure sort of the line between like where that might be equipment, also a software question. This is an evolving space. So Chris, I think that's one, Carl and Rachel, let's make sure we get into the FAQs because I do not know that one off the top. Can you please confirm and guide me to the full application timeline? Carla, the deadline, remind me of the specific day of the deadline, Carla.
Is July 10th at 4:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It is posted within the AI addendum. As I mentioned at the top of the webinar, the AI addendum is part of a larger notice of funding opportunity, the Public Works Economic Adjustment Assistance Program. And so I know within that overall, it says that applications are accepted on a rolling basis, but the AI addendum has its own submission timeline, and it does have a deadline of July 10th at 4:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
There's a good question here that Nancy Kauser is asking. So I'll read it aloud and I'll also like did it in the chat as well. So this one's a little tricky, but I think is a really good question. I think this has been asked, but if an organization is proposing all three phases, so development, design, and implementation, they likely won't have all the elements required to demonstrate special need. Do we just say what we know and how we will find out the rest during the phase and tie it into the top lines? So that is a gap because we are trying to sort of meet people where they are as far as sort of, the system development piece. But I think you should do the way that I would handle that is attempt to answer each of the questions, say, this is the information that we have, this is our hypothesis, and like, or say if there's like something that you do not know, tell me how the system development process is going to help you answer those questions in more detail. But I, it would not be advisable, and it wouldn't be a competitive application if it's like just trying to completely evade answering those questions and saying, oh, we're going to do system development, because we're not doing sort of an inherently planning program. Tricky one. Is it permitted in the scope of grant to offer tiers of upskilling, including foundational literacy and intro skills, or does the structure of the grant want to focus only on higher level AI skills? Laura, great question. So this is about like what type of skills are you looking for? That seems to be a choice up to you. Like you've got to make the argument for the need and what your workforce needs and what the industry needs are. I think that's something that, you know, I don't want to be too rigid about designing your program for you. So I think explain why that might be the right approach for your region to take would be the best strategy that I would take there. Other questions? Carla, you might need to help me a little bit on the evidence required for phase skipping piece here. But as far as like sufficiently demonstrates AI currently in use looks like in practice. So what I would say here is like what we're trying to guard against is this is a very rapidly evolving space. So if you are talking about AI technologies that you anticipate being there in the future, or things that, you know, are off into the future as far as like, oh, we think these tools are going to be coming, like that is not what we are looking for. We are looking for those AI uses that are actually in practice right now. That is the only piece that we are really trying to focus on when we say that sufficiently demonstrates AI currently in use. So this is not for speculative plays in the future. The technology needs to be here now.
And so to address the piece where Chris, you're asking what evidence is required for skipping phase. So strongly encourage looking at what is required for each phase, and then your application should be able to sufficiently speak to this is already done, this is already in place. So you will describe to us where your sector partnership currently is and how they've sufficiently met all the activities or requirements of the previous phase. So just demonstrating is explaining that in the narrative, what is already done.
Trisha, so there's a question in the chat. Are you allowed to put links in the narrative? Yes, I cannot promise you that every single reviewer is going to review those links. Sometimes they're helpful, sometimes they're not. Adhere to the page limits. People have done hyperlinks before. I know when I've read them, I've not looked at every single one of them, but if it's something that I'm like looking at clarifying, can be helpful. But I wouldn't overdo it.
And Trisha, I would say to please review the AI addendum. There are places in there where we do call out certain things can be linked, and there are places where we say links may not be looked at or considered as part of the application, because each narrative has a page limit, and then we want to ensure we're evaluating all applications the same across the board. So take a look at the AI addendum to see where links are permissible and where they likely will not be reviewed.
So Kimberly, I think this is a good question. If we include a list of references with contact information, would you follow up with any of them? Example, a list of employers who have committed to partnering with the lead. We have made some calls before. I think in past competitions, I won't say we will do all of them, some of them, any of them. I think that we reserve the right to do any type of verification of facts in the application. But what is always probably the best is the letter. So we look for things like if your employer commitments and their employer commitment letters, It's on the letterhead from the company. It lists in specific detail how they're committed to the project and what they're doing to help it demonstrate that commitment. And it's signed by someone pretty senior in the organization that can make decisions. That's pretty good. But if you're just sort of like doing a list of contact names and things like that, we might do that, but it's not like we just don't have the capacity to do that for all the number of applicants that we would get. So I'm not saying like no, I'm not saying yes, but a letter is definitely the better approach. Is there a definition of what counts as in-kind match for employer partners? I think that's an FAQ question, isn't it, Carla? Go ahead.
Yes. So I don't believe that we have a definition of what counts as in-kind, but we do within the Notice of Funding Act opportunity detail out what types of match, but also any type of match, it must align to the work of the project. So it has to be evidence that it will sufficiently support the outcomes. If it's equipment, it will be used to support the project and the activities taking place. So it can't be something that does not support or align to the project.
So this question about can an in-kind match be provided by an entity that is not an eligible applicant? Yes. So if we cannot make a grant to a for-profit business, but a for-profit business, your employer partner they're coming over here and they're saying, look, we're going to provide subscriptions or this particular tool or some sort of like teaching support. Oh yeah, that would be fun.
And we also have seen within some applications where match is provided where there is limitations in the funding opportunity itself. So as you'll read through the AI addendum, you'll know that stipends or wages to participants with federal dollars are not allowable. We have seen applicants provide a match for that type of activity. So as you're going through and identifying the activities that will take place within your project, strongly encourage reviewing the AI addendum to see what is allowable, what is not, and then you're able to identify the partners that can provide that support. How can they provide that support? Is it something that federal dollars can do? Or is it something that you should be looking at your match to provide as to assist with that activity? So, Baloo, your question is, can employers be a part of shared budget as contractors to offset the cost for training, tuition, OJT, safety gear? We may need you to detail that out a little bit more, but I believe there's some information within the AI addendum and our frequently asked questions about if match is being provided, there are some limitations for these organizations to be identified as contractors within the budget. So Baloo,
Okay.
feel free to send us that question at oie@eda.gov and we can get you a more thorough answer there and point you back to the AI addendum and the FAQs.
Sure, Carla. Thank you.
All right. Seeing that the chat has slowed down and there are 5 minutes left in our meeting, thank you for joining us today. Again, this webinar, the recording and the slides will be posted shortly on our website and will be available through the duration of the competition window. All webinars will be hosted at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we can be reached at oie@eda.gov. Thank you for joining us today.